Hi everyone. I don't know if we're live yet, but if we are, welcome to another Skinsights with us at VMV. We're going to be talking today about redness and rosacea. We realize some people may think of rosacea as still kind of rare and not all that common, maybe not what they're going through, but it's actually on the rise. So yeah, we thought it'd be a nice, and certainly in the world of VMV, it's not rare. A lot of our clients do have rosacea and kind of to deal with it. So we'll wait just a few more minutes. Make sure everything is set up correctly. Please let me know if you can hear me and see me. So yeah, we're going to be streaming again today from, what did I say? From YouTube and from Facebook. So yeah, let me know if you can see and hear, please, or if there are any problems. I've barricaded off the dogs, so hopefully that'll be one less thing to deal with, which is nice. One can never tell when doing these things, some of the challenges that can come up. Yeah, so while we're waiting, sorry, there's such a beautiful butterfly that just sort of flew above me. I wish you could see it. It's gorgeous. It's huge. Anyway, so while we're waiting a little bit longer for people to come on and get settled, let me know if there's anything you want to ask me about VMV in particular. When my mom comes on, we tend to really just focus on the skin and the condition we're talking about and not so much discuss products. But I can answer questions about products now or after she goes. But yeah, so I'm here if you need me, and we'll start soon. We'll give it just another couple of minutes. I hope everyone's okay. It's been sort of an eventful few weeks, I think, for a lot of people all over the world. For us at VMV, it's really just trying to settle back into a groove of things. In the Philippines, we're going to be starting facials actually really soon, so I'm excited. In New York City, which is where we have our other boutique, we're taking our time. We're a little worried about, the safety of our customers and our staff, so we want to make sure we're really set up for that. So for now, the boutique is not open, but we are selling, over the phone and online as well if you need us, if you have questions. But yeah. Oh, goody. Okay, so I'm getting feedback. So far, so good. Audio and video is looking good. Oh, yay. Oh, yay. Okay. Yay! So last week, we went over, in part because it's really a steroid. Sorry, last week, our last live was on steroids, topical steroids, and overusing them, because we're really seeing such a huge increase in that. And we went over because basically I lost track of the time. My mom gets really excited about that particular topic, steroids and such. So, yeah, we went over. So today, I'm going to be, more diligent and make sure that we stay on schedule, so we don't take up too much time from everybody. But yeah, I think we can start. So welcome again. My name is Laura. I'm the CEO of VMV Hypoallergenics. And if you have any questions about VMV, please feel free to ask them in the comments, and I'll do my best to get to them quickly. Sorry, I have to deal with a question. Yes, no, can I help? Questions for when you're ready. Okay. So yet again, okay. I can't ever seem to start this well. So today we're going to be talking about rosacea and redness. We call this our Skinsights, where I come on and talk a little bit about what VMV does for rosacea and redness and sort of our approach to that particular skin condition, and then I'll call in my mom, who's our founding dermatopathologist, to really get into the details of the skin condition itself. But before we get started, just a reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget please to click the subscribe and the little bell thingy. Certainly like if you like our content, and ask in the comments any questions that you have, and try to ask them early so we're sure that we get them in time. And if you're watching on Facebook, just remember to like and follow us, please, and definitely ask your questions in the comments, and definitely do it early, because it can pile up at the end, and I want to make sure we get to as many questions as we possibly can. Don't forget also, please, to comment on what other topics you'd like us to cover. And before I forget, today we have a really cool thing that we're doing, which is if you like or subscribe, depending on where you are on YouTube and Facebook, and write a question, then you can potentially win. It's my assistant on cue.
Hello.
Hi.
You can win these things.
You can
Oola
win
Lash.
an Oola Lash volumizing mascara, which is one of our absolute all-time fan faves. So
Right here.
it's very, very cool. Have you ever used one of these or seen me
Yes,
use
I
one of
have
these?
for what was it? The Eye of Sauron. Remember?
Oh, right. When we did this great Halloween makeup,
Yeah.
we used this to make the Eye of Sauron.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool tubing mascara, and you get one of these for free, full-sized, if you like or subscribe and you comment on YouTube or Facebook, depending on where you're watching. At the end of the live, we'll do a randomized selection of a winner, and good luck. I hope you get one.
Oh, and
They're
by
really
the way,
cool.
By the way, I hope we're not like crackling.
Yes, so far so good, Gavin.
So far, so good.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you
Yay.
for I think it was Gar who said he liked my earrings. I like my earrings too. Okay, so, all right, getting into rosacea. Like acne, it's another multifactorial skin condition. Do you know what rosacea is? Do you know who has rosacea?
You, I think.
A little bit. I developed rosacea later in life. I never had it as a kid, but your dad has it. In fact, one of the reasons why we made the Red Better line was because of your dad. It was a growing increase. It's inflammatory, and it can be triggered by several things, including, can you read that?
Heat, strong emotions like anger or shame, sadness. Also, I'm just adding that. Certain foods like spicy food, and stressors like allergens, irritants, and sun or light exposure.
Exactly. So, one of the triggers is really strong emotions. So a lot of people with rosacea, it's a chronic redness that kind of doesn't seem to go away ever, right? It's not like when you work out, you get a little red and it goes away. This kind of stays. So, but it gets worse, and it gets really, really red and triggered with heat, with the sun, with spicy foods, with
Can I do
strong
that?
emotions.
Can I do what I did last night?
You could check this out. He's like me. We can force ourselves to get super red. I don't know if it'll show because I have bronzing powder and blush. Okay. So I'm always afraid he's going to get an aneurysm or something. So yes, so rosacea is chronic redness. But in addition to that, the skin also tends to be really, really dry. And then in addition to that, it can also get really thick in some areas and even develop acne or other types of bumps.
Huh.
So it really is, a little more complex with a lot of different symptoms that you wouldn't necessarily associate together, like real dryness and flaking, along with acne and large bumps, thickening, and obviously the redness, right? So, as usual, at VMV, our middle name is prevention.
I forgot.
Prevention. So we're all about the prevention.
Oh my god, I remember I helped you edit a video about that.
Indeed. So what does prevention look like? Very, very, very gentle, very allergen-free, because remember, rosacea is inflammatory. So it's triggered by skin stressors like allergens and comedogens and irritants. So as gentle as you can get your skincare and your makeup, but also anti-inflammatory. So patch test results can really help because it makes sure that you avoid the particular allergens and irritants that you're sensitive to, your particular triggers.
So like allergens and
Yeah.
like
So
blue jeans.
like, yes, a lot of
Blue
people,
dye,
exactly,
red dye,
blue
pink
dye,
dye.
red dye, etc.
Wait, how did you make this like that color? Is it dye paint?
Yes, and it's also a UV lamination or something. I don't remember. Anyway, so remember, if you get a patch test, you can send your results to us or let us know what your results are, and we can customize recommendations for you based on your particular allergens. One of the things that we tend to do with clients with rosacea is start them on what we call a 7-day skin fast, because it's interesting to me, when we were making this line and we were looking at other lines for rosacea, we saw that so many used just antioxidants or used fairly strong actives, and some were really good, but many were also loaded with allergens. So like fragrance, like vitamin E, like a lot of natural sort of oils and extracts that actually are allergens. So it's interesting because it's soothing, it smells nice, it feels good, but it could actually trigger a flare-up. So one of the things that we sometimes do with rosacea, customers with rosacea who come to us is say, start with a 7-day skin fast, so you don't cleanse your face, you don't do anything at all, you don't put any skincare whatsoever, but you cleanse your face with no oil, right? Or pure organic virgin coconut oil for 7 days, and you don't use anything else. Yes, dear?
I count this as like a question asking live, because what is this 7-day skin fast?
So 7-day skin fast is 7 days where you don't use anything on your skin, so that you really bring the skin to its most natural, naked, ground zero state.
So ground zero, like...
so no cleanser, no toner, no moisturizer, not even sunscreen, nothing.
So it's like quantum tunneling.
Okay, kinda. It's also like an elimination diet for food. So we will tend to do that, and then we'll ask clients to start introducing products very slowly.
Okay, wait, may I ask?
Sure.
Sorry. Is it like quantum tunneling where it thinks it's at ground zero, but it can go to a different position at the same level? And
if anyone understands quantum tunneling, could you please confirm in the comments if what I'm saying sounds like quantum tunneling to you?
No, ground zero is not quantum tunneling. Quantum tunnel.
So anyway, moving on. I don't know, baby. I'd have to look it up. After the 7-day skin fast, what we'll tend to recommend is typical like Clark Wash, and this is actually Super Wash, but Clark Wash would be better for Red Better.
Clark Wash.
And then our Essence Skin Saving Conditioner, again for the same reason of just allergen-free everything. Toothpaste as well. Remember, this area can be quite active, so having an allergen-free toothpaste can help. That is what? The Essence Skin Saving Toothpaste. And then for daily maintenance as a regimen, it's this line. Here, you can hold up 2 of those. And, okay, let's do this together.
No, here.
Okay.
And then...
So...
Wait, give me.
Okay,
These two.
one by one, we would start with the Red Better Daily Soothing Cleanser.
Daily Soothing.
Allergen-free, very, very gentle, very, very mild.
Daily Calming Moisturizer?
Followed, yes, by the Daily Calming Moisturizer. No toner for the skin condition because, again, it can get quite dry. And then for, we'd actually follow with, if you need it, if you have those pustules, you have sort of the large spots, you would use Red Better Spot Corrector, which is important because it's less drying than many of the spot correctors out there. And if you have flare-ups and the redness comes, you would use the Red Better
Calm the heck down.
Calm the heck down.
This is my
bomb.
favorite.
What is important?
Just because of the name.
What is important in this line, so you can start pointing it out up there, is it's not just allergen-free, which is awesome, but it contains something called potassium azelloyl diglycinate, which
Right
is
here.
wonderful as an anti-inflammatory. There's a wonderful doctor named Dr. Gallo who's done a lot of work on anti-cathelicidins, which is something that is shown to be present in people with rosacea. It also contains virgin coconut oil and monolaurin as anti-inflammatories and to help with barrier repair. And then, after all of that, Armada Post-Procedure Barrier Cream. It's really important for the sun and light protection. If you remember earlier, we talked about how sun and light can be a trigger for this condition as well. Yes, my love?
I'm sorry, but I have to go. It's alright.
Okay, thank you so much for assisting me today.
Bye.
Okay, so I actually use this. This is Armada Post-Procedure. And this is brand new, and this is my stock, so I'm all excited to be opening it. But it's subtly tinted green, which is maybe a little weird for a sunscreen, but it's actually really important for rosacea because it helps to cancel out the redness. And it goes on a little thick on purpose because it's a purely mineral sunscreen, and it also serves as a barrier for other contaminants and stressors. But it does blend in quite well. And what my trick normally, because I'm already so pale, I'll apply the Armada post-procedure, and I'll follow it with my virgin coconut oil. And my trick for that, which I've already shared, is I'll first apply it all over my body. Whatever oil is left on my hands, I then put on my face, and it helps spread the oil. And then another thing I like to do is if there's a lot of redness, this is Skin the Bluff Concealer in Red Alert, which is a green concealer. Also has virgin coconut oil, also has monolaurin, and it's great for canceling out redness. So I will do the Armada Post procedure, I'll put some of this where I need it, and then I will end everything with my favorite Tartatan bronzing powder, which is this puppy. This is also brand new because my current one is just, it's gone. And so I like the effect. But the bottom line is it's the red bettered line, and then Armada Post procedure to help as sort of a daily regimen for the rosacea and redness, sort of general redness that you have. In fact, my mom really likes using the Red Better Calm the Heck Down balm for many other conditions, including redness post-laser or sunburn.
I'm back in. I lied. My next call is at 10:15.
Fabulous.
Yes.
So you can get all of this at vmvhypoallergenics.com and in the Philippines at?
InSkin?
No, vmvhypoallergenics.ph. Exactly. And when you shop in the United States now, you get a free boo-boo balm.
Okay, I love this.
Which is awesome.
This is actually really cute. I like it.
Exactly. And in the Philippines, when you shop online, you get the free Essence Clark Wash. We don't know where the little bottle went, so this is a stand-in. It's not Superwash. It's Clark Wash in the I Get My Do pouch, which Gavin particularly likes.
I love
And
this.
then also as an anti-inflammatory, oddly enough, my mom actually prescribes, and she'll talk about it later, anti-inflammatories like melatonin to take every night, and also monolaurin pellets to take internally. And that's available in the Philippines at VMV Skin Research Center and clinics,
Like
which
right
is
here.
still screening participants for one study, the hidradenitis suppurativa, which are recurrent boils that can be
Hydronitis.
hidradenitis suppurativa.
Hydronitis.
The boils can be really bothersome, and they can really be recurrent and chronic. And it's a wonderful study. Thank you for the reference that we got from a dermatologist in Davao. If there's anyone else who knows anyone with this condition, or if you think you might have it, boils that keep coming back on the groin area, armpit, the neck, contact us privately, and we will see if you can, you're eligible for a screening.
DM.
And then, if you'd like a teleconsultation with my mom or any other doctor we work with, drop us a DM and we'll make that happen.
We'll make that happen.
And then, so, again, in a nutshell, prevention starts with a patch test.
Patch
You
test.
can let us know your patch test results, and we can help customize recommendations for you based on your allergens.
Then Clark Wash conditioner management is through the Red Better regimen
Exactly. Armada Post procedure.
and some green canceling magic.
And some green canceling magic. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and comment if you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube.
Oh, and also click the bell so you don't miss
because
out on
you
any
might
new
win
videos.
a full-sized Ula Lash volumizing mascara, which is our best-selling tubing mascara that everyone loves. So,
I love being here.
so there. What is very, very new in the research on rosacea is how much more common it is, because it used to be thought of as sort of just for white skins, but now it's sort of really, really on the rise. And to discuss more about that, we will call in.
Lala, come on.
That's right, his mother, my mom, Dr. Viralia Rowell. Hi.
Oops. Can I have sit on it? Can I sit on something?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
here. Okay.
Temperamental.
There, is that better?
Better. That's better. I got.
All right. So, what I think is interesting is that I hardly ever heard my mom talk about rosacea for like a long, long, long time, right? I grew up with her talking about acne, eczema, psoriasis, melasma, but not, and contact dermatitis, obviously, but not rosacea.
Rosacea.
And then inflammation became much better understood, and seemingly overnight, everyone was talking about inflammation, and seemingly overnight, all of a sudden, it was more and more diagnoses of rosacea. So, say hi to everybody,
Hi, everybody.
and we'll jump right into it. Can you start maybe with
But wait,
yes,
I'm sorry. How do you spell rosacea?
like that? Rosacea, rosacea.
Okay.
So, can you help
Not how
start
I
us
would
off
spell
by
it, of
explaining
course.
what is rosacea? How can we identify it? What are some causes?
Let me start first with prevalence.
Okay, so or start with the prevalence. People don't know what it is, though.
Yeah, what is
Okay.
prevalence?
So,
Yeah.
rosacea is redness of the face. It starts with something like an easy flushing is a redness, and then it goes away. And over time, it becomes a redness that no longer is transient, but actually stays and gives a lot of concern for people who have it. Then, over time, it begins to develop dilated little vessels in the skin. And then over time again, the eyes may become involved. You know, there are
Did you say the
papules.
eyes?
Yes, ocular rosacea.
There you go.
And then it also produces this first little tiny pimple-like, and then bigger ones, and then papulopustular. So very much like the acne in adolescence, but this one usually develops, it's usually late 30s, mid 30s that people begin to develop the rosacea signs that I just mentioned. But the stinging, maybe a little bit of burning, the redness, the easy blushing
Right.
occur earlier. The reason we don't see it, she hasn't heard me talk about it very much, is because for years we didn't think in brown skinned people, who I practice on more than anybody else, we didn't recognize it, right?
Because it's so much more
Right.
obvious on pale
Correct.
skin tones,
A
right?
pale,
Very
pale
pale
skin
skin
tone, it's in the United States, for instance, for 300,000 people, how many are there? And there's
How
about,
many?
about 18, yeah.
How many?
There are a lot of people in the
Yeah,
United
lots.
States. Anyway,
18 million was what I saw last night. People have rosacea. And so it's fairly common worldwide. We don't really quite know the prevalence, because I'll tell you, in recent years, I began to recognize it does exist in brown skin. It's not as severe because we have the pigment that allows the skin to be a little bit protective of one of the main triggers for rosacea, which is sun.
Sun or light.
So, but it's common. Okay, so I think I've given you a little bit about the prevalence. It is really very common, and maybe more common than we think when we who practice or take a look at people who have brown and perhaps some black skin, darker skin, may actually realize that there is more to the rosacea in our kind of skin.
you know, this is interesting. There was an article, of course, now I forget where it was, but there was a med student of African descent in, I want to say, the UK,
That's
who
right.
came out with a method, right, of more easily identifying certain skin conditions in darker skin tones, because there are some skin conditions, and I forget the one particularly that he was in the news for, that become really, really almost invisible or really difficult to tell on darker brown and black skin
Absolutely,
tones.
yes.
Rosacea is probably one of those things that, because it's not so glaring on white skin, it's glaring. It's,
Yeah, it's
so
just glaring.
pronounced. It's so
Pronounced,
red,
but
right?
on black skin, brown skin,
It's harder
it's
to see,
hard.
right?
Yeah.
So you look at other things. How would you diagnose it then, on darker skin?
Actually, yes, it's a visible diagnosis. A patient walks in, I'll recognize it in a second, in a sense, because it's red. You know, very
Just
obviously red.
red.
In the white skin, of course.
Just
In the
red.
brown skin, of course, I'm much more familiar with it in brown skin now, so I can see it easily. Also, there's a little bit of redness here, especially under the ala here.
Here?
You know, they become red. The pores are finer, and then all of a sudden you begin to notice how nice the skin is there on the side, but this one is kind of reddish, a little bit of vessels there.
Huh.
You know,
Right. So one of the things that I've noticed she really looks for in darker skin tones is those vessels. How obvious the vessels are in certain areas. Because for me, that's how she sort of was like, hey, you have some dilated vessels in this particular area. So yeah, it looks like you might be dealing with mild in my case, no? But
So,
rosacea.
talking about what the there's so much now known about rosacea because with the interest of people now recognizing their problem that it is a skin problem, there have been now a lot of studies, and let's call it downstream and upstream. Okay, the downstream of rosacea is amazingly studied down to the molecular and the genetic level of our cells, the kinds of energy that they produce that makes inflammation come, with the vessels dilating and with even the nerves and the neural part of the body being involved. That's downstream, and that, folks, will make for much better treatments in the future that are much more specific, much more targeted, just like we're treating psoriasis now and atopic dermatitis with biologics that are very, very targeted to go directly to the chemical or the ingredient or the target or the enzyme or whatever that is really the final end stage, okay? But in the meantime, upstream, oh, that's my forte. I really look for the upstream triggers because when you actually listen to people, I ask them a lot of questions about when does it happen, how does it happen, where does it begin, how do you feel about it, what is it, things like that. Then you begin to recognize that there are certain things that are more than the others that bring on the triggers. The triggers are very important. So environment, it will be the sun, the heat, humidity, wind, for instance. And the other
Foods.
Foods, alcohol,
Emotions, spicy
emotion,
foods, yeah.
right? A lot of the emotional
Stress.
things, emotional stress of any kind, lack of sleep, and not very pro-inflammatory diets. These are the things. These are the triggers.
So how do I know if I have just redness because of my acne, or redness because, I don't know, I'm hot, or redness because I have a rash, versus how do I suspect maybe I have rosacea? Or for the dermatologists out there who are
Yeah.
caring for people with darker skin tones, or maybe are in markets where rosacea isn't so well known, so common.
Yeah.
What are some tips you can give for when is it just a rash or acne and when is it rosacea?
These are now about 35, 39-year-old people. And they'll come and say, I have dry skin, okay? Yes.
Okay, so one is age.
Dry skin, yes. Is
The
one.
other is dry skin.
Right.
Okay.
In a person who years ago was very oily. And all of a sudden, by the age
It's a
of
shift.
30 and on, they notice, why do I have, well, I have dry skin, so what kind of moisturizer, whatever I can use. And then when you look closely at the skin, you realize that, like I said a little bit earlier, started to say, the pores are a little bit bigger, where on the other sides of the face, it doesn't seem to be that big.
Okay,
But
so
they have
age, dryness,
pores.
pores.
And then the next thing I look at is the sides of the nose, the alley. This is reddish. There's a little bit of redness there, more than the usual, and the others are, and it's persistent. They say, oh, okay, that's because I have a cold. They'll blame it on a cold, or because they rub. But the fact is that it's persistently there as I get to know them and say, it's not disappearing, it's there. And if you look closely, look at those tiny little vessels. They're really quite tiny that begin there and all. So,
So the redness, for example, like around acne,
Mhm.
is like inflammation, correct?
yes.
But you're talking about a redness that is
in the background.
okay, further in the background,
Mhm.
maybe more red than usual, and a telltale sign are being able to see the dilated vessels,
Right.
correct?
Then you go down and you look at around the mouth as well, and especially in the chin area and all that, you will notice that there's again those bigger pores, a little bit of scarring, it seems, it doesn't quite look as nice. The centrofacial skin doesn't seem to look as nice as the rest of it.
It's because it's thicker, no?
Yeah.
It's like a little more bulbous.
Yeah.
The texture is different. Like, if you notice on the
Phymatous
side
is
of your
what they
face,
call it.
phymatous.
Phymatous.
Word of the day, phymatous, which means what?
A little bit of thickening and then of course The thick,
And
thick
you know,
one.
no, I don't know. Phimosis is what? Thickening.
Phimosis
thickening
means
and-
a thickening of the skin.
Okay.
Yes. And
So, for example,
the
if-
best example or the
okay,
worst
okay.
example of it would be a former president. I dare not say the name.
No.
And then, I can talk about Jimmy Durante. For
Jimmy
the old
Durante,
people
yeah.
here listening to me, remember the guy with the bulbous nose? That was the worst. That's in the worst scenario would be.
Didn't John D. Rockefeller have
Yes.
rosacea?
Yes,
And it
rosacea.
was rather extreme. And some people, I remember reading before, when that thickening, the
Phimosis.
phymatous skin, when it gets really extreme,
It's called rhinophyma, for instance.
and it can look rhinophyma, phymatous and rhinophyma. So when it gets really, really extreme, it can look quite deformed. And I remember at the time people were like, well, is that elephantitis with the same thing that the elephant man had? It's not. But it does really get thick and bulbous like that, no? So is there a way to treat it when it gets that severe?
Oh yes, there are lots of treatments, and that you need intervention already. That would be with lasers, and years ago we used dermabrasion. It was terrible, painful, and all that. But now there are lots of different kinds of devices that can be used for the tiny little vessels, the bigger vessels as they occur, for the redness because of those vessels underneath that's making that as the vessels underneath become dilated as part of the process, and like I was telling you, downstream, those vessels dilate because of the production, the expression of certain chemicals like catalycidin that she's very familiar with, because the innate immunity, I might as well come out with it, the downstream.
Brace yourselves,
There
people.
are two kinds of immunity
Oof,
responses.
innate
that people have.
immunity is a pain
The
to
innate
understand.
and the
Okay.
adapted. The innate is the one that's primarily, it's non-specific. In other words, the trigger comes, and this non-specific innate immunity response. So that's
So
basically
someone with a cold who sits next to you, your innate immunity.
is to run away and be sure you have your mask on in the first place.
Fair enough, but just let's say innate immunity is a non-specific reaction of the body to try to protect itself from a trigger, like someone who has a cold.
Because of the presence already of cells there, as well as other chemicals and enzymes there that are primed to react immediately to the trigger. So that's innate immunity. That's beautifully worked out in many, many studies that's still ongoing. The other one is called adaptive immunity. Again, the cells are there. It takes a little bit more longer, but these are the cells that actually are responsible for the making of the contact dermatitis, the reaction to those things in the air that's also contributing towards the rosacea. One major thing that you must always remember about rosacea is that it's very sun sensitive. And now, of course, because we recognize that the visible light is equally an energy to be reckoned with because it's got longer wavelengths.
visible light is indoor lights.
Yeah. Especially the blue light, the white lights that we like using. Not so much
From
into the yellow.
gadgets, right?
Yeah.
From gadgets,
From monitors of
phones and your tablets and laptops and stuff. Okay, so if I never had rosacea, like I never did growing up, right? It seems to be something that manifests later in life.
Right.
Is that true?
True.
Or can children have it? It's really rare, no?
rare, rather rare. It comes with time. It comes with the onslaught slowly over time by all of these triggers that, befall us, I guess. is what I
Okay,
can
so if you've never had rosacea before, like I love telling friends who are always like, I've never had a problem. I've never had this. and I'm like, yeah, well, we change. Our bodies change.
Right.
Our skin is the most externally exposed to everything around us, so it changes, right? Sorry, we're surrounded by dragonflies and butterflies today, so at least they're less disruptive than the dogs, which is good.
Or the birds.
Or the birds. So, so rosacea can definitely manifest later as you're older. So if you notice of Chinese descent, Indo-Malay descent, even African descent, certainly if you have more Western European, Northern European, Mediterranean, whatever, it'll be more obvious. But for people of browner to darker skin tones, just be aware of things that are changing in your skin as maybe over time. If you're an adult 30 plus and all of a sudden your acne comes back, your skin is so much drier but you have acne, and then you have these areas of redness. A favorite one of hers is, like she said, the ala around here, around the nose. But also, if you sit in a car or your window tends to be on the left side of your face, it might be more pronounced there. So those are things to kind of look out for. Is rosacea genetically acquired, or is it genetic?
It's very commonly, genetic. There's a genetic trait for it seems.
But it's not just genetic.
It's not just.
Okay, so either you can have it in your genes or not, and still get it. Lucky us.
Yeah. The most important thing for me as far as rosacea is concerned is to recognize the triggers. Always look at the upstream, What are now they're called exposomes, by the way, the upstream triggers in the environment, the diet, and all of that. Consider it, when your skin begins to change as you go into your late 20s, 30s, and you begin to really notice that that happens, look at the triggers in your lifestyle that's probably contributing to it. Because by preventing it early in life, you can actually prevent this thing from continuing. And so I tell my patients, let's use a very mild soap, let's use a very mild moisturizer, let's not scrub to death our skin, let's not peel it off like crazy.
And don't use the soap for the face.
Yes.
Just because the way soaps are made, they tend to have much higher pH levels for the skin. The skin is slightly acidic, actually, because it has to maintain an acid mantle. And certainly if your skin is dry, remember rosacea is inflammatory, right? There's an inflammation that's there. So you want stuff that will reduce inflammation. You want soothing. You want cooling. You want like a permanent,
calming.
Like a meditation yoga teacher for your skin. This is the kind of skincare you want for your skin. And that does not mean aromatic oils, many of which are allergens, right?
Photoallergens.
Yeah, so they make, exactly. So imagine for rosacea, which is already so photosensitive and inflammatory, subjecting it to photoallergens is really not kind. So,
putting it in the nose, for instance.
And especially because you see so much of that redness here, right? So you really just don't want to be doing that. I like this question. How do you differentiate normal acne and acne caused by rosacea?
Number one, age. Now, if we're talking about how do you differentiate adult acne for the versus the acne from rosacea, that's another topic, because adult acne is different in its causation from the adolescent acne. The adolescent acne, I'll repeat what I've said about in the previous live stream. The adolescent acne is basically due to the hormones that are surging out as you go into your teens. More androgens, so this stimulates the sebaceous gland of the pilosebaceous unit, and so with that, it upsets the bugs that are there in the follicle, and also there is, because of that, they also go, the pore of the follicle becomes a bit clogged up, so that with increased oil and the clogging and the bacteria acting up in that follicular unit, you begin to have those little
it's a party.
It's a party, yes. Papules, pustules.
It gets loud.
But as far as the acne itself, they can look very similar to each other. Yeah.
Okay, I have a... wait, no. What's the one that's... She mentioned it earlier, right? You said pustules and papules. So
right.
Again, what is the difference between those two things?
Okay. In acne, whether it's adolescent or adult acne, they've actually biopsied the skin early on when there is nothing yet, not even a comedone. That's, the whitehead or the blackhead that we see when my grandchild begins to have acne. The biopsy of the skin beside it in the area where there's still no acne in it specifically has shown inflammation already. All right? So there is inflammation going on that triggers the development of the acne. And it's at the molecular level, so it's not yet obvious, but then eventually the whitehead, the blackhead occur. That is also the same kind of thing in adolescent acne, but it is not due to the hormones necessarily of childhood, of young adulthood, but the hormones probably from stress, more likely from stress, really being a stimulant to the, to
Okay,
the
so
tissues.
papules versus pustules.
Ah, so that inflammation grows with time. As time goes on, therefore, with all of the other factors in play together with the microbes, then more inflammation occurs, more inflammatory cells occur, and when they become therefore thicker, papules, and when the leukocytes, the white blood cells, really get into the act of doing their thing and killing everything inside, and eating up whatever is there with the macrophages and all, then it becomes a pustule, a little bit of abscess in it. It's a
Okay.
beautiful yellow.
Okay, so
butterfly.
again, a papule is a thicker, larger bump, basically. What I've noticed in some of the photos of rosacea is you'll have extremely dry, extremely red skin, and these bumps, fairly large bumps, no, that happen. A pustule has the abscess. That's the one with the white stuff in it, right? That I actually haven't seen as much in rosacea. Is it as common?
Oh, it's pretty common in the severe
Okay.
cases.
In the severe
Yeah.
cases. Okay.
Which reminds me, one very important factor, stress factor in the skin that is present in rosacea are the microbes. In particular, two which are not bugs that are bad in the sense that you acquire them from outside, but they're actually bugs that are also already innate in our skin. In other words, they're part of our normal skin microbiota. One is a fungus called Pityrosporum.
Oh, Demodex. We
Demodex.
didn't even talk about Demodex as a big thing
Demodex
in
is
rosacea.
exactly. Demodex is a mite, tiny little mite, but and then the other one is the Malacea fungus, which is again a normal thing in the skin that it has a very nice purpose actually.
So, okay, let me back up a little bit. Okay, so we're talking about rosacea, and I think the unfortunate thing at this point is people still think it's fairly rare, but it's actually growing in frequency, and also beyond sort of very pale skin colors. Some of the things to look out for: dry skin that also has acne, redness, dilated blood vessels, and
Big
some of the
pores.
things, big pores, right? Thickening skin. And then some of the
Shin.
things, centrofacial redness is what they say, right? So it tends to be concentrated here. Some things that contribute to it or make it or are at play include inflammatory cells, cathelicidins, Demodex, those little mites that are happy, that live, they're really cute actually. They live in our skins, but they tend to go a little bonkers. The fungus, you said, does
Malacea.
Malacea also get involved? Okay. What about Helicobacter pylori? Wasn't that an issue?
That's also been mentioned, but
There you
in
go.
recent papers, it seems it's not really been very consistent.
Okay, so it's more the cathelicidins. So we have a question from Sarah, if I'm not mistaken, or Jane. I can't quite tell. Besides certain topical products to help prevent, are there specific foods that have that have anti-inflammatory properties that can help?
Oh, that's another subject.
But yes, what we like to shortcut for everyone is, say, the Mediterranean diet, because it's very high in fresh vegetables, and then fish, because you really want omega-3s in there. She did a really good anti-inflammatory diet study with people with psoriasis, and the main things that were changed was anti-inflammatory foods, so a lot of tubers, kamote, sweet potato, ube, and then fish, fresh veggies, no sugars, unless you do like fruits or coconut sugar, and then oil, coconut oil. Cooking everything in coconut oil, using that as your primary oil, that can really help with the inflammation control. Specific, I think, also to rosacea is spicy foods you might want to avoid, alcohol as well. So there. Another question from Penny Lane. I love your questions. Can rosacea appear on other body parts, not just the face?
If it does, it may not be. Yes, there are actually some studies which show rosacea can occur in other parts. But for me, when I hear that, I wonder how. what were the triggers, what were the stress factors, and then actually thinking it may be actually contact dermatitis. Did anybody do a patch test
Yeah.
to determine?
Actually, this leads us to another question that's related. I hope you don't mind. I'll get it in there in the end from Anne. How do you know if it's rosacea versus eczema versus contact derm?
Very easy.
I thought that was going to be harder.
Very easy, actually. I go into the history of the patients very thoroughly with them, asking them. And then I ask them even, where is the first spot that appears? What part of the body does it occur? The face. Well, what part of the face? On the right side, the left side, the ear, and then, then basing upon that, you begin to have a picture about where it first appears. Every time it recurs, it's always there. So it may be because of what's a new word, we call them resident memory cells. It's very, interesting topic as well. But you can differentiate it from the fact that the distribution, the character, the evolution, the associations, those things contribute a lot to make a differential diagnosis between the three of them. Then, when you finally said, well, maybe it's because of your telephone, because it's not rosacea, it's only one-sided, and it's only here. And if we look at the discoloration and whatever on your face, you'll notice where you normally would put the phone tighter near the ear and up this. There's nothing up on the ear there. There's nothing in the back. But there you have it. And then it goes here, and then it is a little bit more here. It's almost like the shape. So then looking at that and looking at therefore, and they say, let me see your hands. Oh yeah, I've always had this though, certain parts. Can you hold your telephone? Things like that are vital for me to look at in order to be able to see, to get a background history, and then to eventually, once I do the results of the patch test, do a relevance to what I had discovered by history might be related to the rash, whether it turns out to be contact dermatitis.
Right. So I get, if I can try to sort of add to that, no, it's easy but not. So because you do need a dermatologist to make the distinction. Before I continue, just a reminder to everyone, we have about 12 minutes left, so make sure to get your questions in because these are complex answers for more complex skin conditions. So make sure you get your comments in before we have to end. So the thing about a lot of these conditions, really truly in dermatology, even trained specialists can sometimes have difficulty distinguishing certain things, right? So you really don't want to be self-diagnosing, number one. Number two, many of these things are multifactorial, and then many of them compound each other. So many times you'll have someone, for example, with acne who also has contact dermatitis. Many times you'll have very, very common eczema or atopic derm, psoriasis, rosacea for sure, that is compounded by contact dermatitis. And part of the dermatologist's job is to start seeing, okay, what is rosacea? What is potentially contact dermatitis? This is the rosacea, but it seems to be triggered by this contact dermatitis. So it does require some work. She will tend to do a patch test. She will also, if she is really concerned about inflammation, she will also sometimes order a blood test for inflammatory markers.
Triggers,
Yeah.
microbes being one of the main things.
She'll sometimes do a
slow
smear.
laboratory.
She'll do a smear to do a culture, to see what bugs are in play. So it's really more a more complex thing. And okay, another question from Norden. My face turns red when eating spicy food. Could that mean I have rosacea?
Might.
Maybe.
Maybe yes, good. You have to then go into your history
Yeah.
and
Look at other things.
when did it develop? What kind of spicy foods in particular? Things like that.
Right. And also look for the other things that are hallmarks of rosacea. If you just tend to get red when you eat spicy food, but everything else is fine, then maybe not. Maybe you just flush. I tend to flush, like my son was showing earlier. We can exercise a lot and I turn purple. So it might be that. But if you have the other trademarks, or hallmarks rather, like really dry skin, if you have acne and dry skin, if you have certain areas, this is the target area, centrofacial, right? So if you're looking at areas that, like me now, my pores here right under my nose are much more pronounced than the rest of my face. I wish you could see it, but here the pores are really not that obvious. But then you start going here,
I'd love to.
and you start to see.
You want to take a good?
Well, post a larger photo of my skin, I guess.
Let me give this thought. The thought has been in my mind for a while. Let me interrupt now.
Okay.
Quality of life. Many people don't want to acknowledge their quality of life is impaired. And so it gives to headaches, and it gives way to depression and sadness, unexplained, and all of that. But quality of life in relation to skin problems has been quantified and verified to be validated to be as high as people with cancer or hypertension or heart disease. So we think of it a little bit less, it's just the face anyway.
It's just the skin.
Listen, rosacea quality of life, there are studies which show it's really very bad, and psoriasis, of course, all the other inflammatory
suicidal
diseases.
ideation is a thing. So it can
my
really impact.
main message therefore is be aware of your skin and don't play around with it and go to the store again and buy this or buy that and look at what's being sold out there. Go to a professional. It is your skin. It's the first thing most people will
I don't know
see.
why I was the inspiration for this particular topic, but I wholeheartedly support this. Because mental health is very important. And it does impact our skin in many ways. And that's fine. If I'm going to be used as the trigger for that, that's okay.
Yeah. Be happy.
It's not that easy. I respect
know.
that. But
I know.
it can be done. Okay, we have a hard stop today because she has a consultation. So 9 minutes for your questions, please, folks. We have a question here. How do you reduce hyperpigmentation from rosacea? But while she's drinking her organic turmeric tea, by the way, which is anti-inflammatory, but it is a blood thinner, so make sure you check with your doctor before over drinking it. But turmeric's wonderful. My first suggestion here would be to try to get the redness controlled as much as possible, because hyperpigmentation tends to be more difficult to deal with, actually. Post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation can be a pain. But so the question is, how do you reduce hyperpigmentation from rosacea?
There are many ways. Prevention for me is the best. Using of a sunscreen, for instance, which has block against visible light, and it has been shown that the zinc and titanium dioxide do work. But in addition to that, because of the many long hours that we're now facing, an iPad, a computer, or even the iPhone, the telephone, what happens is that there is quite accumulation of visible light on our faces, and so therefore, in addition, adding iron oxide, so I'm a strong believer in layering with
Boy, is she ever.
layering of sunscreens.
Right. So you want to
Get
look
used to
for a sun and light screen, a sunscreen that is specifically tested for indoor lights as well. Purely mineral sunscreen would be great, iron oxides, and she loves the layering. So do the sunscreen. Then if you use foundation, you can do that. Powder, bronzing powder, concealer. It's like adding coats. Like when you go out in the winter or when you're out in the sun, you use long sleeved shirts, you use a hat. It really is physical protection.
But I think the question was also addressed to what are the treatments out there. There are so many. Take your pick. But the important thing is go to a dermatologist who will help you find the real thing that will work for you.
A quick note on this, and we discuss it on our live stream on hyperpigmentation, and it's on vmvinskin.com as well. Be wary of hyperpigmentation topical treatments that do contain photoallergens.
That's right.
Or, here you are spending so much money and time
Exactly.
dealing with your hyperpigmentation, and then you're using a cream with fragrance. You're using makeup with dyes. These, with preservatives or whatever, these are things that make you more photosensitive. So you're actually just welcoming more hyperpigmentation that you're trying so hard to treat. Okay, I think, is there a link between lupus and rosacea? What a great question. Their symptoms look the same. Oh, I'm happy.
Their symptoms are only the same in that there are a number of lupus patients who are really photosensitive. So they get what's called a malar flash of the butterfly rash. But yeah, and that's centrofacial also. Perhaps because also of the exposure to lights and all that in that centrofacial area. But there's a huge difference between lupus. Lupus is a systemic disease, whereas rosacea is just localized mainly on the face, although occasionally some reports will talk about rosacea in other parts of the body. But they are totally different.
Also, lupus, I don't tend to associate, this is complete ignorance, I don't know. But just off the top of my head, I don't associate lupus with acne.
With steroids though, come to think of it,
Steroid
people,
acne.
yeah, using steroid acne will aggravate and be another causative or stress factor for patients with rosacea who use it to, they think initially when they put it on your faces with the flushing or red, it constricts, it's a vasoconstrictor, and so therefore the vessels will go away temporarily, and then therefore it becomes a habit to continue using it over time, and at which time the skin thins down, then it
Right.
barrier
But-
dysfunction, etc.
But a
Acne.
symptom of lupus is also acne, or no?
No.
Right. So a symptom of rosacea
Not
is,
primarily,
right,
yeah.
or it tends to be quite common in rosacea, whether or not you use steroids. It can be aggravated and with steroids, because then you can also get steroid acne.
Right.
But rosacea can just be dry skin, redness, dilated vessels, and have the acne. Whereas lupus, not necessarily. Is that correct?
Yeah, if anything, it has scarring, you know, it will,
Yeah, that's right.
it has different kinds of skin changes.
Okay. You have 4 minutes on your hard stop. So this is a good time to let you go. You have 4 minutes. Hannah said you have a hard stop.
Oh,
at
okay, I better go.
Thank you again
This was so much fun,
much.
as usual.
Mwah. Love you.
Mwah. Love
Have
you.
a great day.
Love you, Lau. You're doing a great job, kid.
By the way, we got comments on how nice you look.
Thank you. This is, by the way, from Marawi.
Oh,
This is a
nice.
Mindanao thing, including that's from a princess, I think. Not nice.
That's from a princess, I think, is what I'm going to take home today.
I didn't steal it. It was in their museum store, you know, so I said, oh, okay, I'll get that princess.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Love you,
Bye-bye.
girl. See ya. Okay. All right, folks. So I will sort of wrap up here and make sure I get everyone out on time. I believe we have 2 winners. Is that right? On YouTube, of our Oolalash mascara. I'm waiting for the randomizer to come up with those names. Just very quickly, rosacea is very much on the rise. So if you notice that as you get older, you develop, even as you have dry skin, you develop acne, you develop redness, and the redness would tend to be more isolated in this area. I tend to have it here, for example. Centrofacial redness is what it is. I'm developing some thickness of the skin. Some of my pores in these areas are bigger. Then you might have rosacea. And certainly some of the flushing from spicy foods, from stress, alcohol, and other things can be at play. In my case, it would be cathelicidins because I have an autoinflammatory disease as well. And Demodex might also go a little crazy, are cute little mites that live. They're really cute. If you can find a picture of them, they're adorable. These mites that live happily on the skin can also be issues. And ways to deal with that, again, very, very gentle care. I mentioned earlier, Clark wash. This is super wash, but it is actually better to use Clark wash. And then conditioner. We would recommend the Red Better line, which is all of this stuff, from the cleanser to the daily moisturizer to the Calm the Heck Down balm, all of it. I use the daily moisturizer at night, and then as a sunscreen to use the Armada post-procedure barrier cream for indoor and outdoor light. It is a bit thicker, and it's thicker on purpose because it provides a physical barrier against skin stressors and contaminants as well. So on top of that, I like to put virgin coconut oil to spread it better. It's also an anti-inflammatory. This Oils Well has both virgin coconut oil and monolaurin. And then I put the green Red Alert Skin the Bluff concealer on areas that are really red. And yes, Penny Lane and I are both fans of the Tartatan bronzing powder because it is really awesome. Like I just live on this thing. If I could inhale it, I would. So there. In the United States, as a reminder, you get a free travel size, oops, that's not it, Boo Boo Bomb when you shop online now at vmvhypoallergenics.com. And in the Philippines, you get an I Get My Dew, which is an adorable little pouch, along with a Clark wash. I'm worried that the dogs have run away with the Clark wash, but you get a Clark wash in this, which is awesome, especially in the time of COVID and all the hand washing, and certainly if you have redness and rosacea. So there. Also in the Philippines and the United States, if you shop 5 of these little guys, which is about the price of our full-size Know It Oil, it's at 30% off. And these are great little sizes because you can, like our frontliners here, keep them in their pockets so you can use them regularly for disinfection. And yeah, in the Philippines, we are still screening subjects for hidradenitis suppurativa. And VMV Skin Research Center and Clinic does sell the monolaurin pellets. And if you'd like a teleconsultation with my mother or other dermatologists or nutritionists that we work with, drop us a DM and we will make that happen. And for everyone everywhere, if you've had a patch test, let us know your patch test results and we can help customize recommendations for you based on your particular allergens. And for today, we are giving out, oh goodness, we have 4 winners for mascara. So congratulations to, I'm so psyched. Penny Lane is a regular viewer and she asks awesome questions. Plus apparently we're Tartatan Bronzing Powder sisters. So Penny Lane, Ann Lau, Sarah Jane Angela Manalo, and Alyssa Narvasa. Congratulations, y'all get Ulalash. So yeah, tell me what you think of it. Take photos or whatever. It's really awesome. Doesn't smear. It's really wonderful. It's one of our best-selling products. So congratulations. And thank you everyone for watching again today. We will be back next week and then we're exploring doing weekly video content and then reserving the lives for less frequently. But we're toying. So let us know what you think about our content, anything else you'd like to know from us. And yeah, reminder to like and subscribe on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram at vmvhypoallergenics.com. And if you ever want to chat with me, I'm on Instagram at Laura@VMV. That's LAURAAT VMV. I don't tend to DM because I get lazy, but I do chat quite a bit on posts. So thank you very much. I wish you a cool, soothing, anti-inflammatory day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.